Back on Longhorn Weekly and our Spring Sport Edition as we talk rowing with Texas head coach Dave O'Neill. I want to go back to something that just absolutely floored me that you told me last fall when you joined us as a guest when we were doing Longhorn Weekly with Charlie Strong out of Pluckers during the fall, when I discovered, and I didn't claim to know a great deal about rowing anyway, but to discover that you quite often are recruiting student athletes who have never rowed before.
Yeah.
And that still amazes people when I tell them that.
Yeah, because people are surprised at that. You can walk on and learn to row and be quite successful, not just within our team, but also with the national team at the Olympic level. In fact, I was one of the coaches for the 2012 Olympics, and of the women's Olympic team, the U.S. women's Olympic team, half of those women learned to row in college.
Wow.
And I think at least half of them won medals. So, and people, you might be like, well, why? How can you do that? And the biggest reason is because rowing is a physical sport with a skill element as opposed to those skill sports with a bit of a physical element. Like tennis, I would say that's a skill sport.
Right. All right. So it begs the question then, what are you looking for when you recruit?
Hard work, good attitude, good body, the right body type. 6'1", 170, 175 pounds.
So there is a mold. There is a prototype that you look for.
The taller, stronger you can be. But there's plenty of kids that have that body type that don't have the right mindset, don't have the right work ethic. So, this video of the women's 8 going by, and April Brown, bow seat of our first 8 right now, and she's not tall at all, but she pulls really, really hard, and she's in the first 8, making it go.
And I made the joke with you back in the fall about the old thing about the high school football coaches roaming the halls and seeing somebody at the lockers. Hey, you ever try to play football? It's not that much different from some of the stuff that you've done, right?
We had the Longhorn athletics, the women's athletics awards banquet last week, and I think the swim team was walking up like, oh, she should row. She should row. She should row. Volleyball. She should row. She should row. But sometimes it's not just the body type. The most important thing really is the work ethic and the attitude. You had a great run to California. Won a couple of national championships there. You were hired last June. How has this been different for you than, say, your time in Berkeley? Good question. It wasn't necessarily starting from scratch, and it was came in, met the team, and I said right away, like, here's the attitude, here's the mindset, here's the work ethic we're looking towards, and in fact, the first meeting we had, I said, I'm well aware none of you signed up for this, they weren't, I didn't recruit any of the kids on the team at the time, and they, it's like you guys did not sign up for for what you're in for. And I thought a lot of them were going to quit, to be honest. I had to adjust a little bit of the training plan. We couldn't do quite as much of the volume as I would have liked, and quite as much as that we'll do next year. But give the team a ton of credit. They've been soaking it up, and I couldn't ask for a better group of kids. You bring up an interesting point because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you went with more training and started the regatta schedule later. Sure.
And I know that surprised some folks. What did you see out of that group that brought you to that conclusion, I need to go this particular route with it?
I guess for me as a rowing coach, rowing is all about the training. We train, and I'm always saying, like, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is for us to go fast in mid to late May. And that guides the training, my mindset in terms of, like, what are we trying to get out of this workout? And sometimes you can sacrifice the long term to try to have a good short term. We need to do well at this race in October, which really doesn't matter. And that could affect the training, what you're looking to do. And so for me in the fall, it's all about just building a better team culture, developing fitter, stronger athletes, and, a better skill.
Do you think you got everybody's attention when your first varsity 8 boot almost beat USC, a perennial national championship qualifier?
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a coming out. I think we got everyone's attention within our team, too. Like, I was like, wow, like, we're doing okay. And but I think maybe nationally, some people might not maybe thought, like, well, maybe USC's having a bad year, or maybe they're a little bit down this year. But then when we kept on, almost caught Virginia as well when we were at the Clemson Invitational, I think people are starting to recognize, like, yeah, Clemson, we're pretty good.
And you followed up by an outstanding performance in Bloomington, Indiana as well. So would you say that the team is performing the way you thought, hoped, expected with this later start than what they were accustomed to?
Well, I think things are coming to plan in terms of, how I'm looking for the year to go. And I think coming in this year, I definitely had some high hopes in terms of the final result, but of course we can't control how fast everyone else is going. But I think I've said from the very beginning we're looking to be good. And based on what we've done before, made it clear I'm not going to lower my standards for what good is. And I think, and we're not looking to be good just within the Big 12, we're looking to be good nationally. And I think we're certainly heading in that direction.
You hosted San Diego last week at Lady Bird Lake and defeated them. How good is it also to show people here that you're good on your home water as well as what you've done on the road?
That was when I sort of taking a look at the race schedule. I wanted to have a race later in the spring on Lady Bird Lake. We've had the Longhorn Invitational back, and that was always the third week of March, and sometimes the weather can be a little bit iffy, and the teams maybe not always still figuring things out early season. But I wanted, at the end of the spring season, end of the regular season, have a home race when everyone's firing on all cylinders. And it was a beautiful day. Course was set up great. Everything looked great, and team performed well.
Now I get a chance to give you the opportunity to explain why the Big 12 Championship is taking place in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why in Tennessee? There's a limited number of 6-7 lane race courses around the country, and fortunately for University of Tennessee, unfortunately for us, there's one in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is set up and that's been used for years. So they have the infrastructure to host a 6-lane race course. We're looking, can we get something figured out closer to home? But that's a year or two down the road, if we can maybe get something figured out here.
And for folks who don't know, Tennessee is a member of the Big 12 when it comes to rowing.
Right. Yeah, rowing, you need to have 7 members to have a conference championship, and there's only 5 programs in the Big 12 that sponsor rowing. Texas, School Up North, Kansas State, and West Virginia, and then there's affiliate members, University of Tennessee, University of Alabama, and actually Old Dominion. So we make up an 8-team conference.
All right, we're going to meet a couple of your outstanding rowers as well, visiting with Dave O'Neill, and this edition of Longhorn Weekly continues here on the Longhorn Network and the Longhorn IMG Radio Network. We continue with Longhorn Weekly, and our special guest as we talk Texas rowing, head coach Dave O'Neill. I'm going to let you introduce these 2 outstanding student athletes.
Oh, great. We've got seniors Casey Redman and Kim Gorcyca.
And how much, I always ask coaches about how much seniors mean to the program, especially for our first-year head coach.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. There's 13 seniors on the team. And having seniors, that senior leadership is really, really important. And I was really fortunate that these seniors have been with the program for some 2, 3, 4 years and came in and they were ready to work hard and get to work.
Casey, let me start with you. How different was it with Coach O'Neill when it started? And like he said, his now famous line, I know this is wasn't what you guys signed up for, but how different was it when he came on board?
It was definitely a big change. It was a lot to get used to. Training was, I'd say, infinitely harder, but it was in a good way, I guess. Like it was a good adjustment, and I think we're all really excited about it. So.
Kim, was it when he said the main thing is the main thing is the main thing, keeping the main thing, was it difficult for everybody to adjust that? You're like, hey, when are we going to get a chance to show what we can do with a later schedule in terms of the actual competition?
I don't think anyone really minded it too much. I think we were excited to get stronger, and when it was time to race, we were ready to show how fast we were. So I don't think having a later race schedule really made anyone upset.
And I'll start with you, Kim. How much at that point as seniors did you have to say to some of the younger ones, hang with us, this thing is going to work? Could you see it working out?
Yeah, we could definitely see it working out.
There were some ups and downs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There were some growing pains along the way.
Really?
Yeah, I think there were waves of a hard week. You'd have to go to a freshman and be like, look, it's going to be worth it. It's definitely going to be worth it. I think the seniors definitely saw the long-term plan, and we kind of understood what Dave was trying to do, and we just had to keep reminding everybody. But it's definitely, I think we've seen a lot of good results. So.
Casey, you had a sister row at SMU, correct? Has rowing always been a part of the family?
Not really, no. I started rowing first, actually. My sister played basketball, and I don't even really know how I started it or how my mom discovered that it was a thing. Living in Arizona, we don't really have much water. So, yeah, I started, and then, you know, college opportunities and scholarships and that sort of stuff became like a, you know, a real option. And so my sister decided to leave basketball and start rowing as well. It worked out for both of us.
And I'll start with you, Casey. This is your chance for both of you to unload on him with him sitting right here. How would you describe, or what are the things you like about his coaching philosophy?
Good question. I really like that he focuses on making practice as productive as, you know, we can every single day, and that his big thing is, you know, attitude and hard work, attitude and effort, and I think that's like, you know, pretty much like the key to rowing, I guess. It's like, I don't know, it makes it easier.
And Kim, would you say that it also lends more excitement to what's coming up now with the Big 12 meet just around the corner, the NCAA championships on down the road, all the hard work that's been put in?
Yeah, I think everyone's really excited. We have been seeing in practice that we're getting faster and faster, and we're ready to show everyone at the Big 12 and then see what we can do. Did you look at these two seniors, Dave, and say, these are two of the ones that I really want to build my program on?
Absolutely. You know, right away.
Yeah.
Well, how do I definitely put that? Casey came into the office and said, with her, one of the first things, I didn't work out at all over the summer. I'm like, okay, right? So it's like, okay, I'll have to be patient. And then I remember meeting Kim and like, okay, what's your best 2K erg? And I think one of the first things, like, wow, I had mono last year. You know, it's like I had mono, like, and it was not.
And you're thinking, these are two of my seniors I'm building the program around, right?
But I think it kind of shows what they can do, like put your mind to it and what they can do. And I think they might have even surprised themselves at just how fast they are.
Is that true that he actually coaxed more out of you than you thought you might be able to deliver?
Absolutely.
Okay. Kim, Casey, thank you for dropping by. We appreciate it. Best of luck coming up.
Thank you.
All right, Dave will be back with us. We'll wrap up this week's edition of Longhorn Weekly when we continue right now. Back on Longhorn Weekly, and again, we're just around the corner from the Big 12 Rowing Championships in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, as we visit with head coach Dave O'Neill. In the Big 12 Championships, and to let folks know a little bit of the layout for what the NCAA Championships are going to be like, how important it is for that first varsity 8 boat, that second one, to run really well and to perform really well as you get ready for the NCAA.
Yeah, we need the NCAA championship and the Big 12 championship as a team. You know, all boats are weighted. It's a points championship, and the first 8 scores the most points, and then the second 8 a few points less, and then the 4 is about 1/3 of the points of the first 8. So the priority is always clearly the first 8, but we need every boat to step up and do well. And Big 12 championships this year, for the first time, the Big 12 championships is the automatic qualifier for NCAAs. So we win the Big 12, we automatically qualify for NCAAs, just like you win the Big 12 basketball tournament, you automatically go to the championship.
So while the novice boats can help you and gain some points for you in the conference in the NCAA, we're still talking about the first 8, the second 8, and the 4 being the real heavyweight point getters.
Those are the heavy hitters for the scoring for the NCAA championships. And then the other boats will count towards the Big 12 championship, but we need those top 3 boats to perform well. Here's
a question I always ask basketball and baseball coaches, because like you pointed out, you win the conference tournament, you gain the at-large, the automatic bid. If you don't win the conference meet, how confident are you that your team will still earn an at-large bid?
You know, I'm usually pretty confident, you know, and I think we've done enough to get ourselves off the bubble. You know, we did well against Pac-12 schools, against Oregon State and UCLA, and we were really close with Washington State. And within the ACC, we're better than Clemson and Notre Dame and Syracuse, and even within the Ivies, we're ahead of Cornell and Harvard. So looking across, there's only so many programs out there. There's about 85, 90 programs in the country, but I think when you look at those big conferences with the good rowing programs, I think we're doing pretty well. So even if we stumble at the Big 12s, I think we are deserving of the at-large entry. Where's the camera? Like, okay, it's selection committee.
Okay. But so you're expecting your group to be competing in the NCAA championship?
We're not taking anything for granted. I'm not going to take anything for granted. We need to do well at the Big 12 championships, but I like our resume of what we've done already.
All right, Dave. Thanks for dropping my best of luck in the Big 12 and the NCAA.
Thank you.
All right, this is rowing coach Dave O'Neill. We invite you to join us next week. We'll be back and we'll talk some baseball.